Hello. In this introduction video about instance methods, I'll deal with the problem of duplicate code that we've come across in a previous version of the Drawing app. So the new version will be DrawingApp 1.2. I'll demonstrate the actual implementation in Java in the hands-on video. So to recapitulate the situation in DrawingApp 1.1, our last version, so we created a rectangle, then print out the properties. We assign a few values to the properties and print out the properties again. And it works. So in the beginning we have printed the default values, after which we've printed the properties that were set to a different value. But the problem is that we have duplicate code whenever we want to print out the current state of the object, so all four properties. How to deal with it? Well, by implementing a method, an instance method to be more precise, in a rectangle class. Looking at the Drawing app specifications that we have stated in the Getting Started video, we have implemented the properties of the rectangle so far. And now, in order to solve the duplicate code problem, I'll add a print method. At the end of this video, I'll implement two additional methods, getArea and getPerimeter. But let's focus our attention first on the implementation of the print method in order to remove the duplicate code in the client. First, the addition of the print method in the UML diagram. So it'll be a public method, no parameters, and it'll return void or nothing, because it just has to print something. It doesn't have to return anything. And here we see hence the addition of a new section in our class diagram, a section for instance methods. Based on the definition in the UML class diagram, we define the print methods as a public method, void, not returning anything. The actual implementation, or what it has to do, is print out all the properties. Now, in the following videos, I'll focus your attention on the this dot notation, or the usage of this pointer. We'll see that actually we can use or the name of the property directly, or have it preceded by this dot. Usage of the print method in the Drawing app 1.2. So we create an object as before. We'll comment out the previous printf statements, because now, and that is the purpose of removing the duplicate codes, I can replace those lines by just a single statement rect1.print. And I'll do the same down below. So the first print will create a printout of the default values, and the second print the printout of the values that were set. Exactly the same output as in the previous version. Now, although this version will work, we have to pay attention to the following problem. The library class rectangle is printing to the console. If I just go back 1 second, we see that the print statement prints to the console. System.out represents a standard output device in the console in our case, and it prints out to the console. Now, a library class printing to a console is actually a bad practice. Why is this a bad practice? Let me go back for a second to the slide that I explained in the Getting Started video, where I explained the difference between a library class and an application class, something you need to be aware of. Suppose we have three apps. A console application that wants to use the rectangle and print out some information. A desktop application, so a graphical user interface application, so a client written in, for example, JavaFX. And we have a third application, a mobile app, and they all want to use the rectangle class. Now, how to deal with it? As explained in the Getting Started video, you shouldn't copy a separate version of the rectangle class for each client. That's not a good idea. Why? Because if some change needs to be implemented in the rectangle class, I'll have to implement it for all three clients. And that would lead to a lot of duplicate codes and be difficult to maintain if you wish to change or extend the rectangle class. Instead, we centralize, so to speak, the rectangle class in a library and have the clients all use that same library instead. Now, if a class in a library, say the rectangle class, would then print information to the console, as we are doing in this version of our Drawing app, then it would only be beneficial for the user of a console client. The result of a printf will be visible. That information will, on the other hand, not be visible by any desktop or mobile app user. So how to pass then information from a class residing in a library to an application class? We do that by putting the information in a string object and return that object to the application class. And let each client or application class decide for themselves how to display that information to the user. The general way to do this is by implementing the toString method in the rectangle class, in the library class. For now, I'm simulating this separation between library and application classes by defining the classes rectangle and DrawingApp in separate packages, but in the same IntelliJ project. This to keep this playlist easier to follow. In a later stage, I going to create two different projects indeed, one for the library and one for the clients. So instead of a print method that returns void or nothing, I'll demonstrate in a hands-on video the implementation and usage of the toString methods, which will return a string. This can be translated to the following in the rectangle class. I will no longer use the print methods, but replace it by the toString method instead. String.format puts all the requested information in a new string object, and the method returns a reference to that object, so of type string, to whomever invokes this method, which will be the client in our case. How do we use it? Well, this time I'm going to put the rect1.print in comment and replace it by, first of all, an explicit call to the toString method using the reference variable. It'll return a reference to the created string. We'll print that out. A second print out option is just to invoke the toString method directly. The output created will be, in this case, so twice the printout of the default values. After having set the properties, I'm going to use the previous notation as well, and we'll see that we can actually drop the notation of the toString altogether, because println implicitly implies that whenever we pass a reference variable to its methods as arguments, that the toString method will be invoked. So those two statements will create the same outputs. After having dealt with the duplicate code, I add two additional methods, getArea and getPerimeter. So the final implementation of Rectangle in version 1.2 is the toString methods, and in a slightly different version, because from now on all the information will be available on one line, so I will not have any new line separator anymore. This to simplify the output that is created. And so finally the getArea and getPerimeter that will be implemented. Here are formulas used to calculate the area of a rectangle and the perimeter of a rectangle. And then finally DrawingApp using all the features of the rectangle class, so the usage of the toString and printing the information out. So I have 3 printouts, and as said, all on a single line from now on. And the usage of the getArea and getPerimeter will result in the following output in the console for area and perimeter. So what am I going to demonstrate in the hands-on video? First of all, add in the lib package dm02 instance methods and implement the discussed topics in the rectangle class. And in the app package, add package dm02 instance methods as well, and use the new topics of the rectangle class in a new version of DrawingApp. See you in the hands-on video. Bye bye.